Marcus and Jamal Reed, two black teenagers, are humiliated and ejected from an upscale motorcycle dealership for their appearance and skin color. They unknowingly ignite a firestorm. Their father, tech billionaire Dr. Victor Reed, retaliates by landing a helicopter at the dealership, buying the entire business, and dismantling its discriminatory culture. From public shame to a revolution that reshapes an industry, this is a story of dignity, justice, and the power of standing against prejudice. Tune in to see how one family turns pain into lasting change. A harsh command sliced through the air-conditioned showroom of Valachi Traders. "Get security! These kids can't even afford the tires on that bike!" Laughter rippled across the polished floor, each chuckle a dagger piercing the hearts of Marcus and Jamal Reed. The two black teenagers, aged 16 and 17, stood rooted to the spot, their faces cycling from awe to disbelief, then sinking into a searing humiliation that burned deep within. As they were ushered out under scornful gazes, they had no inkling that within 24 hours this very showroom would quake, not from the roar of a motorcycle, but from a reckoning they could scarcely imagine. It all began on a Saturday afternoon in Bestridge. The Reed brothers, clad in well-worn denim jackets and scuffed sneakers, ventured into the city's most upscale motorcycle dealership. They had scrimped and saved for months from their part-time jobs, Marcus delivering newspapers, Jamal mowing neighborhood lawns, not to buy, but to catch a glimpse of their two-wheeled dreams. "Do you think they'll let us sit on one?" Jamal whispered, his voice a mix of eagerness and apprehension as they neared the mirrored entrance of Velish Riders, eyes alight with anticipation. "No harm in asking," Marcus replied, taking a deep breath to steady his nerves. "Like Dad always says, you don't get what you don't ask for." Unbeknownst to them, beyond those gleaming glass doors, their worth would be judged not by their integrity, but by their attire and skin color. Black Thompson, the lead salesman, spotted them the moment they stepped inside. His practiced grin vanished, replaced by a sneer as he muttered something to his coworker Vanessa, who stifled a laugh behind the counter. The brothers moved cautiously among the gleaming motorcycles, their steps hesitant until they reached the showroom's centerpiece, a customized Yabusa, its metallic red finish shimmering under the lights, accented with sleek carbon fiber details. Jamal let out a quiet gasp. "It's the fastest bike in the world," he murmured, staring at the machine, as if it were a masterpiece in a gallery. "Can I assist you?" The voice behind them was sharp, almost clinical. Black approached, his tailored suit pristine, his smile as hollow as a poorly fitted disguise. "We're just looking," Marcus said politely. "This Yabusa is amazing. How much is it?" A tense pause hung in the air. Black's eyes raked over the brothers, top to bottom. "This isn't a toy store," he said, his words dripping with contempt. "That bike costs more than you'll make in a decade." The brothers froze, the weight of his words crushing. "We just wanted to know," Jamal began, but Black cut him off. "Look, we don't have time for gawkers who obviously can't afford anything here. We're expecting serious buyers." His voice grew louder, drawing the attention of other staff and a handful of customers. Then Black crossed a line. "Call security! These kids can't even afford the tires on that bike!" A burly guard approached as muffled laughter echoed through the showroom. Marcus grabbed his trembling brother's arm, his voice low. "Let's go, Jamal. It's not worth it." As they were escorted out, one employee, Sophie Chen, watched from behind the counter, her discomfort plain. Unlike her colleagues, she didn't laugh. She saw what others overlooked, the sting of wounded pride, the shattering of dreams, the quiet injustice unfolding before her. Outside, Jamal slammed his fist against a lamppost, tears of frustration welling in his eyes. "They didn't even give us a chance. They didn't even ask who we were." Marcus remained silent, his quiet heavier than any words. The sun dipped low over Vestrich, painting the sky in hues of orange and red, the same red as the Yabusa that had briefly captivated their imaginations. What no one at Velish Tirdarks could have foreseen was the true identity of those penniless boys. Miles away, in a mansion perched atop the city's highest hill, Dr. Victor Reed, one of the nation's foremost tech investors and a discreet philanthropist, awaited his sons for dinner. Black Thompson could never have anticipated the consequences of their story reaching their father. If this tale of justice and retribution has piqued your interest, Subscribe to the channel to follow the next chapter in this journey of dignity and reckoning. As the brothers walked home that evening, heads bowed, a shift stirred within them. Their silence wasn't defeat. It was a burgeoning resolve. On Marcus's phone, an unread message from their father glowed faintly. "How was the trip? Excited to test our new chopper tomorrow?" Black Thompson and Veletiraiders were oblivious, but they had just made the gravest mistake of their business. A storm was coming, heralded not by thunder but by the whir of helicopter blades. A heavy stillness cloaked the dining room of the Reed mansion, thick as a storm cloud. The soft glow of crystal chandeliers bathed Dr. Victor Reed's stoic face in light, as his sons recounted the dealership incident with measured restraint. Silver cutlery lay untouched on fine imported china, the meal forgotten amid the weight of the moment. "They laughed at us, Dad," Jamal finished, his voice tight with suppressed anger. "Like we were nothing." Dr. Reed didn't raise his voice, didn't shatter a glass, didn't vow immediate retribution. Instead, he set his utensils neatly beside his plate, adjusted his gold-rimmed glasses, and fixed his sons with a gaze sharp enough to slice through stone. "Did you do anything wrong?" His question was deliberate, almost serene. "No, sir," Marcus replied swiftly. "We were polite. We didn't touch anything without permission." "Then why did you leave?" The words hung like a blade poised to fall. The brothers exchanged glances. "We felt humiliated," Marcus admitted at last. Dr. Reed rose slowly, his nearly 2-meter frame commanding effortless authority. For 2 decades he had built a tech empire from nothing, battling bias and exclusion at every turn. Now, as one of the nation's few black billionaires, he still faced skeptical stares in elite circles. "Tomorrow," he said, his deep voice carrying the gravity of a vow, "you learn the difference between walking away and retreating with purpose." Upstairs, as the brothers grappled with their father's cryptic words, Dr. Reed retreated to his private study, making 3 precise calls, one to his executive assistant, another to his personal pilot, and a third to a contact listed only as property associate. "I need everything on Veletiraiders by morning," he instructed his assistant, in ownership, financial history, market valuation, every detail. Meanwhile, at a nearby bar, Black Thompson reveled in happy hour with his coworkers. After his 5th drink, he roared with laughter, recounting the afternoon's events. "You should have seen their faces when I called security," he guffawed, spilling beer across the table. "As if kids like that could ever afford anything at Veleish. They looked more like thieves than customers." Across the bar, Sophie Chen listened in silence, her unease etched into her expression. Finishing her drink, she grabbed her purse and slipped out. In the parking lot, she began drafting a resignation email but paused halfway. Perhaps there was a better way to address this. The next morning, breakfast at the Reed mansion unfolded in a hush of anticipation. Marcus and Jamal watched their father, who read the newspaper with meticulous calm, slicing his toast with surgical precision. "Do we have to go to school today?" Jamal ventured, breaking the quiet. "Of course," Dr. Reed replied without looking up. "Education always comes first." He folded the paper deliberately, then met their eyes. "But you'll leave early. Meet me at the soccer field at 2 p.m. sharp." "The soccer field? Why?" Marcus asked. "Because it's the only place at school with room to land a helicopter." The brothers shared a stunned look. The new Reed Industries helicopter, an Airbus A160, custom-built and sleek black with gold accents, hadn't yet been unveiled to the public. Throughout the school day, the brothers could barely focus. By 1:55 p.m., they stood on the soccer field, scanning the clear sky. At exactly 2 p.m., the unmistakable thrum of rotor blades split the air. The black A160 emerged on the horizon like a graceful predator, sparking instant chaos. Students and teachers rushed to windows as the helicopter touched down grandly in the field's center, kicking up dust and eliciting gasps of awe. Dr. Reed stepped out, clad in a flawless Italian suit, sunglasses reflecting the afternoon sun. With a subtle nod, he summoned his sons. Within minutes, they were soaring over the city. "Yesterday you learned a harsh truth," Dr. Reed said through the headsets as they glided above the commercial district. "You saw how the world sometimes judges young black men, how it condemns us before knowing us." The helicopter banked smoothly, revealing Veletiraiders below. "Today, You'll learn something else, he continued as the pilot began descending toward the dealership's empty lot. You'll learn about dignity, about consequences, and about rising above without losing your grace. Inside Velici Tillider's, Black Thompson was mid-pitch, showcasing a motorcycle to a couple, when a thunderous roar shattered his spiel. The deafening sound of a helicopter sent customers, staff, and even the manager scrambling to the windows, stunned to see a sleek AH-160 touching down in the dealership's parking lot. "Who in blazes is doing this?" the manager bellowed, charging outside. "This is private property." Black followed, his irritation palpable, until the helicopter's doors opened. His face blanched as he recognized the two teenagers stepping out behind a commanding, impeccably dressed figure. "It can't be," he muttered, instantly placing Dr. Victor Reed from the pages of business and tech magazines. Sophie Chen, just arriving for her shift, paused beside Black, a faint smirk playing on her lips. "Looks like those kids you threw out yesterday are back," she whispered. "And they've brought their dad." Black swallowed hard, his body rigid with dread, as the man who wielded billions in tech assets strode toward him with unwavering purpose. The same man whose sons he had belittled and ejected as trespassers. What Black didn't yet grasp was that Velice Tillider's was on the verge of a seismic shift. And Dr. Reed's arrival wasn't merely a show of strength, but the prelude to a total overhaul sparked by a single, piercing question. "Do you remember my sons? Because they certainly remember you." Time seemed to stall in the dealership's parking lot. The helicopter's blades slowed, but the ensuing silence was heavier, more oppressive. Dr. Victor Reed advanced with deliberate, measured steps toward the showroom entrance, his sons close behind. His presence was magnetic, exuding an authority that didn't need to be shouted to command attention. Black Thompson stood frozen at the doorway, his face caught between ghostly pallor and a flush of mounting shame. The store's manager, Alan Parker, hurried to intercept the unexpected visitor, his expression wavering between annoyance at the disruption and curiosity about the helicopter's occupant. "Sir, you're not authorized to land here. This is private property." His words faltered as he recognized the face that had graced Forbes weeks ago. "Dr. Reed, how can we assist you?" Victor Reed ignored the manager entirely, his gaze locked on Black, who seemed to shrink under its weight. Marcus and Jamal watched, their faces a blend of apprehension and quiet gratification. "You?" Dr. Reed said, pointing at Black, his voice calm yet cutting like a blade. "Do you recall my sons? Because they haven't forgotten you." The showroom fell still, every customer and employee riveted by the unfolding scene. "Dr. Reed," Black stammered, scrambling to regain his poise. "There was a misunderstanding yesterday. I didn't know." Reed cut him off with surgical precision. "You didn't know, yet you felt entitled to judge, demean, and expel two young men based solely on their appearance and the color of their skin?" The dealership was now enveloped in a tense hush. Some staff exchanged nervous glances, while Sophie Chen observed with keen interest, a look of quiet relief crossing her face. "Mr. Reed," the manager interjected, sweating profusely, "I assure you, Velice Tillider's does not condone any form of discrimination. If there's been an issue, we can address it privately in my office." Reed turned to him, his expression unreadable. "Privately? How private was it when your staff mocked my sons yesterday? How private was it when they were marched out like criminals?" He shifted his focus back to Black. "My sons came here with a dream. They saved money from their jobs, hoping one day to own their own motorcycles. They didn't ask for special treatment. They didn't mention my name. All they wanted was a shred of respect." Black opened his mouth to respond, but Reed raised a hand, silencing him instantly. "You'll listen now, without interrupting," he commanded. "I have something vital to teach you, something you've clearly never grasped." Dr. Reed paced slowly through the showroom, his fingers brushing the leather seat of a gleaming Ducati. "A person's worth isn't measured by their clothes or their skin color. It's measured by their character." He paused, locking eyes with Black. "And yesterday, you revealed yours." The manager made one final, desperate attempt to intervene. "Dr. Reed, Black is our top salesman. I'm certain this was just a one-off lapse in judgment." At that moment, Sophie Chen stepped forward, her voice quivering slightly but resolute. "It wasn't a one-off, Mr. Parker. He does this regularly. Young Black and Latino customers are consistently treated differently here. A ripple of whispers swept through the showroom as the manager glared at Sophie, who stood, unwavering. "You're fired," he hissed. "No, she isn't." Dr. Victor Reed's voice cut through the tension like a razor. "In fact, no one here has the authority to fire anyone right now." With a subtle gesture, he signaled his assistant, who had slipped in unnoticed during the confrontation, to step forward, clutching a folder of documents. "As of last night," Reed continued, "Reed Holdings is the majority owner of Velave Tiradors Enterprises." A faint, devastating smile crossed his lips. "Which means, effectively, I'm now in charge of everyone here?" The revelation landed like a thunderclap. The manager staggered back, bracing himself against a counter. "That's impossible," he muttered. "We're a franchise under Valet International," Reed nodded. "They were seeking investors. My team finalized a swift, mutually beneficial deal overnight." Black's knees buckled, the reality hitting him like a freight train. Across the showroom, stunned faces grappled with the bombshell. Reed turned to Black. "You're terminated, not just from this location, but from all 17 Valachi dealerships nationwide. I'm instituting a zero-tolerance policy for discrimination, effective immediately." The former salesman's mouth opened, but no words came. The manager tried one last plea. "Dr. Reed, please reconsider. We'll handle this internally, I assure you." Reed cut him off without hesitation. "You're fired too. A fish rots from the head down. If this happened under your watch, you're just as accountable." Then he faced Sophie, who watched with a mix of awe and respect. "Ms. Chen, correct? My son spoke of you, how you treated them with dignity when no one else did." He extended his hand. "Would you consider taking on the role of interim manager while we rebuild the team?" Sophie's eyes widened in disbelief. She glanced at Marcus and Jamal, who grinned subtly, then back at Reed. "It would be a privilege, sir," she replied, shaking his hand firmly. Black, finally finding his voice, stepped forward. "You can't do this! I'll sue!" Reed pivoted to him, his gaze now icy. "Go ahead and try. My legal team would relish the chance to air your conduct in court, where security footage and witnesses could make it public." He motioned to his sons, who approached. "My sons came here yesterday to see a Yabusa," he said, scanning the showroom. "Which one's the finest you have?" What followed left everyone in a state of shock. No one could have predicted that the casual visit of two curious teens would trigger a complete power shift. As Black and the manager cleared out their desks and slunk out the back door, Marcus and Jamal strolled through the showroom as if they owned it, which, in a sense, they now did. But Dr. Reed wasn't finished. His next announcement would reshape not only Valachi Tiradors but the entire luxury dealership market in the region. And as Sophie Chen began her first day as manager, something even more astonishing loomed on the horizon. By the next dawn, Valachi Tiradors had transformed. A gleaming acrylic sign shone above the entrance, "Reed Valette Motors, where respect comes first." It wasn't just a rebrand, it was a manifesto. Sophie arrived early, her hands trembling slightly as she unlocked the doors in her new role as manager. In her bag was the new code of conduct, penned by Dr. Reed that morning. The first page declared, "Judge people by their character, not their appearance." Outside, a crowd was gathering, drawn by news that spread like wildfire. Billionaire buys dealership after sons face discrimination. A local news van was parked across the street, cameras ready. Marcus and Jamal pulled up in an ordinary pickup truck, wearing the same denim jackets from their humiliating ordeal, but their eyes held a new spark, not of triumph, but of purpose. At the entrance, new employees assembled nervously, 3 young black men, 2 Latinos, and a woman with a hijab, all highly qualified, all previously rejected by Black or the former manager. The whir of helicopter blades signaled Dr. Reed's arrival, but as the chopper touched down, confusion rippled through the crowd. 2 men stepped out, not one. The second figure's presence sent a murmur through the onlookers, setting the stage for an unexpected twist. "That's Black Thompson," an assistant murmured, pointing to the former salesman trudging somberly beside Dr. Victor Reed, stripped of his flashy suit, now dressed in a plain polo and jeans. "Good morning, everyone," Dr. Reed declared, his voice booming across the showroom. "Today marks not just the opening of a new dealership, but the dawn of a new ethos." The main doors swung wide, and a crowd poured in, many recording the scene with their phones. Yesterday you saw the consequences of judging based on appearances, Reed continued. Today, you'll witness something different. Black. The ex-salesman stepped forward, his face a mask of restrained shame. I made a grave mistake, he began, his voice unsteady. I judged those young men by their looks, by their skin color, and I humiliated them in front of everyone. Dr. Reed took over. Black won't sell here again, but he'll serve as the new Director of Equity and Awareness at Reed Holdings, traveling to our companies to share his lesson. A wave of astonishment rippled through the crowd. Real change doesn't come from punishing others, Reed said. It comes from transforming them. I don't want Black to lose his livelihood. I want him to rediscover his humanity. He pulled an envelope from his pocket. I'm announcing the apprenticeship program, which will offer full motorcycle mechanic training to 10 young people from underserved communities. The first 2 recipients will be chosen by my sons. Marcus and Jamal exchanged smiles, already knowing they'd select 2 school friends passionate about bikes but unable to afford technical courses. And this Yabasa, Dr. Reed said, resting his hand on the red motorcycle his sons had admired, will be auctioned off, with all proceeds funding scholarships for Black youth pursuing mechanical engineering. True power isn't in owning something expensive, it's in changing lives. Outside, the former manager, Parker, watched with a bitter scowl frozen on his face. Unlike Black, he had rejected Reed's offer of redemption. In his hands was a folder of resumes he'd dismissed over the years, qualified candidates with foreign names or photos revealing their ethnic backgrounds. His arrogance had cost him not just his job, but his self-respect. By that afternoon, the story of Reed Velvet Motors had gone viral nationwide, not for the helicopter or the billionaire who'd bought an entire dealership, but for its profound lesson. A person's true worth lies not in their clothing or skin color, but in the strength of their character. Sophie, now firmly settled as manager, gazed out the showroom window at day's end. The transformation was palpable, not just in the new uniforms or policies, but in the expressions, the smiles, the vibrant energy pulsing through a space once exclusive, now warmly inclusive. The story of Marcus, Jamal, and Dr. Victor Reed teaches us that true worth lies not in appearances or wealth, but in character and the courage to confront injustice. It shows that prejudice, when unchallenged, festers, but one determined stand can spark transformative change. In our lives, this urges us to treat others with respect, regardless of how they look, and to speak out against unfairness, whether in schools, workplaces, or communities. Small actions, like Sophie Chen's bravery, can shift perspectives and systems. Let's carry this lesson forward, fostering inclusivity and accountability in our daily interactions. Thank you for joining us on this journey of justice and redemption. Please like, share, and subscribe to support more inspiring stories. Drop a comment below. How have you challenged prejudice in your life? And what lessons did you learn? We'd love to hear your thoughts.